This is the Diaspora inaugural solution, Diaspora Solution Group Nigeria. We are currently having the very first edition of this event in Seattle, Washington. This event is driven to call on all Africans in the diaspora to come on board so we can rebuild our educational system, our agricultural sector, and every other economy that's lacking behind. We need your resources. However you can support this vision, please come on board. We appreciate you. Thank you.
My name is Prince M. Olaoye Bello. I'm the Executive Director of Account for the Diaspora Group Solution of Nigeria here in Washington State.
Long live Nigeria and God bless America. You may please be seated. Coming up next tonight is the president of this noble organization. It is my eminent honor to bring on stage Mr. Gideon Oyeleke. Mr. Gideon is the newly appointed president of the social welfare organization in America called DSGN, Diaspora Solution Group. Through hard work and dedication, Mr. Oyeleke has earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Criminal Justice in the University of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Happy birthday to Nigeria, and I say congratulations to Diaspora Solution Group.
Please make a big welcome the next speaker for this event, Mr. Edwin Amufua. Thank you.
Thank you all, and good evening. The topic I was given to speak about today is corruption, or dare I say anti-corruption in Nigeria, which is a very, very complicated topic.
Excited to bring on stage the next segment, which will be the Agalu Group all the way from Nigeria. With a round of applause, please make welcome the Agalu Group from Nigeria. Thank you.
My name is Prince M. Olaoye Bello. I'm the Executive Director of Account for the Diaspora Group Solution of Nigeria here in Washington State, which Washington State is the headquarters of the Diaspora Solution Group. We here as an organization to help the present government on how to direct the policy and investment and the brain drain of Nigeria back home to help the government of Nigeria. We've been around, we've got some other people around us. I personally am a petroleum engineer and general construction engineer as well here in Washington, Seattle. We are doing a lot of things to put the government in the right directions and to navigate Nigerians who've got some of our brain drains back home to help the present government of the day to improve in the policy, navigate the policy, execute the policy the way it should be executed. So that's the reason why we're here, and we are doing our launching, part launching here in Seattle, which is the headquarters, and sooner we're going to move to California for the next launching. We're here to help Nigerians in diaspora and to help Nigerians in Nigeria to carry out the governmental policy for the present government of the day to succeed in what they're doing, just like the other government all around the world. Thank you very much for joining us today to celebrate the Nigeria in diaspora. God bless every one of us.
And God bless America. You may please be seated. Everyone can attest to the fact that creative thinking has always led to groundbreaking advancements. And we all have the capacity to individually make a positive impact, even when faced with adversity, which sometimes takes us through a transformative journey of becoming more. We certainly do not want to be a group of people who are affected by cultural phenomena. I'm confident that this vision will bring forth a renaissance in our community. I'd warmly appeal for your attention as I recapitulate on the history of this great vision. The African think tank was founded by Nigerians in the USA on February 12th, 2023. The think tank Diaspora Solution Group Nigeria, DSGN, was established simultaneously in Los Angeles, California, alongside Seattle, Washington. Did you know that Los Angeles is a city in the United States located in Southern California, in the center of the nation's films and television industry? The original name of the city is from Spanish, which means the angels. In Spanish, it's usually pronounced as Los Angeles. However, in American English, it is pronounced as Los Angeles. Let's get back to the vision. The organization was founded by Nigerian American professionals living in the USA who all bring with them years of experience from both their birth country, Nigeria, as well as their American home. The organization has been established to serve as a think tank body of professionals in the USA with the view of generating effective solutions from the diaspora to the myriad problems adversely affecting Nigeria and Africa at large. The organization will serve as a platform for policy advocacy, innovative creation, and solutions in the areas of law and insecurity issues. The need has arisen from the upsurge of insurgency in the country. The need for policy advocacy in the agricultural sector, education, increasing capacity, as well as advocacy for the rule of law, in order to stem the tide of corruption, which has remained in epidemic proportions in Nigeria and the continent of Africa as a whole. Please kindly disregard the vision on the program. We would read the vision here. Our vision is for Nigeria to lead Africa in standing shoulder to shoulder with the West, becoming a beacon of hope for the continent's resurgence. And our mission is to encourage a sense of nationalism, networking, and cooperation amongst Nigerians in the US for their success, to both individually and collectively, as well as mobilize the enormous human and material resources for the development of a bigger Nigeria. What we do: advancing African American human rights, healthcare rehabilitation and awareness, building people's leadership, expanding reproductive freedoms, educational programs. Coming up next tonight is the president of this noble organization. It is my eminent honor to bring on stage Mr. Gideon Oyeleke. Mr. Gideon is the newly appointed president of the social welfare organization in America called DSGN, Diaspora Solution Group. Through hard work and dedication, Mr. Oyeleke has earned a Bachelor's of Arts degree in criminal justice in the University of Las Vegas, Nevada. Other accomplishments include, but are not limited to, diploma in light detention in San Diego, California. He is also a certified cardiopulmonary resuscitation instructor. With a warm welcome and a round of applause, would you please rise as we make welcome the one, the only, Mr. Gideon Oyeleke. Thank you.
Everybody can sit down and say thank you.
The money will be going to
And I'm sorry for our people being late today. We are changing it because with just food and everything will be here. But this is what we need. We don't just need to party and just go home and complain and blame them. We don't blame ourselves. Anyhow, I'll say happy birthday to Nigeria, and I'll say congratulations to Diaspora Solution Group. Who are we? We started a few months ago from California, from the restaurant of one of our members. And I was called later, and we decided to put the organization together. There is no country that developed without the effort of their diaspora. Israel, China, and even here in Seattle, your Boeing, your Microsoft, you have a lot of foreigners there. And what we do here and in Nigeria, we have the most PhDs in Nigeria. And today I'm happy to have some of those here. You are one of the top neurosurgeons in the US. He's here, Dr. Emenike. And we have Dr. Fajulu, who is one of the directors of the Casa Permanente in California before he retired. So, thank that. We have Dr. Dada, award-winning scientist, who could have just made the COVID-19 vaccine for Africa. Award-winning. And we have Dr. Hollins. I attended her presentation in the past, and I thought probably years ago, this is person we need to help Nigeria because we have race relation problem, tribal issues. Yoruba want to go, they want Yoruba nation. The Igbo want Biafra. Delta people want Delta. And the problem is we are interwoven. Yoruba marry Igbo, Hausa, and all the other things. The thing about it is like Mandela said, if Nigerian break, your skin color don't have no meaning. All it means that the black man cannot exert civilization on the global scale. So we have to pray together. What is our goal? Our goal is to promote nationalism, networking, and cooperation among Nigeria that are in the US and the ones that are over there. And to assure success in between them, privately and collectively. And lastly, to mobilize the enormous materials that we have. Resource-wise, there's nothing that we don't have. Then as far as the expertise is concerned, look at all these people today. All we try to do is convert the brain drain to brain gain. And the only way we can do that is through us working together, even though we are not there. But we are able to utilize whatever we have here, expertise that we have in the US, and through missions, through seminars, whatever we can do, we televise it, we send it over there. We have been doing that. Members have been doing that. We are not just here to tell you sweet stuff. You can see, I think I have a posters over there. During COVID, they were hungry. Members have given food to Nigerians. Youth, we've educated youth. As far as the medical is concerned, we did medical missions. All these type of things we need to continue. And we need to educate Nigerians so that we can enable us to give us more power to do whatever we need to do. There are so many issues that we have. Talk about the hunger. Some people say they're hungry. Even Nigeria. But do you know that Nigeria produced the world's largest population, biggest yams in the world? 70%. But today, you're gonna eat your fufu, the fufu came from Ghana. Your yam came from Ghana. Our Nigerian problem is not food production, it's food processing. And a lot of people don't know that. So what we want to do, we'll just do whatever we can to help. In Nigeria, we have politics. We're going to have some presentation on politics, political 101. We have a lot of money. We have oil and all the other things, but those monies have been siphoned. And the justice system, we have 2 judges, honorable judges here. Nigerian justice, I call it like American recreational fishing. So they get arrested, they got money, they'll bail themselves out, and they are gone. So the justice must be swift and certain. Somebody have to educate them on that. So we want you to join us. I know that we will love to, some of us, oh yeah, they're just going to talk. We are not just talking. We are giving back. I look at us like maybe we're in the village. And the mama sent us to go to the market to buy some groceries. We got to the market and we find goodies and we get all comfortable and we don't want to go back to the village. We need to give back right now. Tinubu said, it's my turn. We here, it's our turn to give back to Nigeria. Some will say, oh, I'm not going to go back over there. If you don't go back over there, somebody will remind you, where's your home? Where do you come from? Your duration in the country doesn't make you belong there. So we need to give back. There are so many issues. I thank Tinubu for the first time, President Tinubu, for creating a ministry for tourism. That is something that we never had before. There are so many, I've been to a lot of countries, there's a lot of money in tourism. I was in Bahamas a long time ago, and the guys, oh yeah, you're a great country. You have plenty of oil. I said, yes. It's your oil will dry, but tourism will never dry. So I thank Tinubu for doing that. Need doing more. Getting some contracts, probably about 10 billion from India. I think that will help us. The reinstatement of the visa ban from UAE. Then we have the Yahoo boys. So there is a tech being developed whereby we can really curb that. So we need your help, not just me. And those ones that are not here, I know they'll be here later. Because, oh yeah, they are talking. They just want to party and go home. Which is not the way. This is the first time we are going to have this type of program here. Normally, we'll party and all the other thing, but we need to talk. We need to do something for that country, where we come from. There are so many things, like I said, going to San Diego, go to the zoo, and the way they talk about, they are very caring, they care for all those animals. And there was one time when this actor, Pierce Brosnan, went to Arsenio Hall. And Arsenio Hall was very excited. Oh, yeah. The first question he asked was, how was the animal, how was the wildlife? You know what he said? He said, oh, yeah, they killed them, they ate them all. Sad. So I think when Lagos State is doing something about it, all over the country we need to do something about that. There are so many issues. How are we going to deliver messages through legislation? We have Honorable Aimofa here. He's been to Nigeria, very good lawyer. We have the scientists, we have the doctors, we have the top American neurosurgeon here. And why is Nigeria the way it is? We need to do something. We just don't eat fufu and drink candy canes and goat meat and just go home and complain. Like the Chinese said, if you are blaming other people for your problem, you have not started your journey. But when you blame yourself, you have started. When you blame nobody, you are there. You are right. Nigerian problem is big, but it takes the first step to walk a million miles journey. So we need to do that. So we are not too many here. I know they will be here later. I thank you all for coming. We have a lot of entertainment coming your way today. Today we're gonna, about 2 decades ago, they had a year masquerade. So you're gonna have that opportunity to see a year today. We have Agalu, all the way from Nigeria. They're gonna be here. Ugoa, they were the pioneers of hip hop. Eddie Remedy is gonna be here. So, and we have food over here too, that are good. Fufu is here, Nigerian jollof rice, and all the way from Louisiana, we have gumbo. So, have a good time and enjoy. Thank you for coming.
That was indeed a picturesque moment filled with innovative and iconic ideas. We can do better. A round of applause. And even one more. Thank you. The next speaker on today's agenda is Mr. Oluwole Fajolu, newly appointed Vice President of this iconic organization. Mr. Oluwole has badged the medical training internship. Okay, thank you. Dr. Oluwole has badged the medical training internship at Lagos General and Island Maternity Hospitals with a short surgery residency at Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth. He completed his general surgery residency fellowship in cardiothoracic Harlem Hospital in New York City. He also joined the Kaiser Permanente Medical Group as partner for over 25 years in Los Angeles, California, and he's currently an expert reviewer with the California State Medical Board. With a big round of applause, please make welcome the one and only Dr. Fajolu. Thank you.
Thank you, Princess. It is a privilege to be a member of this organization. I'll give you a little history of how I became a member. As the president said, it all started in Los Angeles. A friend of mine, Mr. Lawanson, called me one Saturday morning. He said he wanted to discuss something important. And we met in front of a grocery store, and his first question was, "Are you interested in politics?" I said, "No." I've never been in politics. I know not much about politics, but I'm disappointed about what's going on in our country, in Nigeria. To cut a long story short, we went on. This was sometime in February or late January. The election for the presidency hasn't started. And we went on to talk for a while. And he asked me about the different candidates. I said, I'm not conversant with their history. However, it's about time we got somebody good to lead Nigeria. There is no perfect person anywhere in the world to lead any country. Much so, a country as diversified and populous as Nigeria, where over 200 million people. So it would take a very strong man, a very dedicated man, a committed man, a man that has around him support services to carry out the mission. He told me about some candidates, what they have done, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, number one, you don't overlook certain deficiencies. But if people have made certain mistakes and they show their competence compared with what we've heard in Nigeria, I will support him or her. Anyway, he said he's forming a group. I said, well, let's get started. And that's how I joined the group. Why? Because he showed me men of integrity that we're going to be getting together, men that are dedicated, men that show commitment to supporting our country. Now, we just saw a video presentation about Nigeria. Unfortunately, it went on to 1929. It started in the towards the middle of the 19th century. Nigeria we have today is splintered into several, I won't say splintered, it's composed of several ethnic groups brought together. For some reason, even after the British left in 1960, we've managed to stay together. We've had hiccups here and there. The military came, even the civilian governments came. None of them performed in a way that is pleasing to most Nigerians. We are still like a rudderless ship drifting everywhere. Now, this is a point of inflection. That is the way I see Nigeria, where we have, for the first time, a man, no matter what his faults are personally, he has shown performance in governance. He has shown his commitment. He has even been in exile in order to introduce democracy to Nigeria. In a way, I believe, it is a chance that we can make the turning point to something better for the country. Now, at this point, our country, we all know, is faced with a lot of problems. Injustice, insecurity, and the biggest of them all is corruption. You know, corruption is all over the world, in this country and everywhere. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we've taken it to a very high point, whereby it is celebrated. The more corrupt you are, and the more flamboyant you are, the richer people know who you are, the more they congratulate you. Now, there is a sickness in that country. That is what we need to start correcting. I'm going to speak on medical issues with respect to Nigeria. I am a surgeon. In the early 70s, I was in Nigeria as an intern in Lagos General Hospital and Island Maternity Hospital. I was a young man. I knew what Nigeria was healthcare-wise before I left to train as a surgeon. Now, I came back later, I think in the early and mid-80s, as a consultant in the teaching hospital. That is when I saw another aspect of healthcare deficiency in Nigeria. I saw a lot of things. They are too numerous to count that were discouraging. I'll just give you just one example. I was operating at Luth, a major operation. In the process, the light went off. Nobody could see anything. I couldn't see what was operating on. Anesthesia couldn't see anything. The only flashlight in the room, we had to give anesthesia to make sure the patient was alive. I had to wait at least 15 minutes before the generator came back on. Now, fortunately, the patient survived. Fortunately, there was no active bleeding during that lights out. But you can imagine what it would have been like if the patient died because of electrical failure and he did not come back. To top it off, when I got to the hospital the following morning to check on this patient, I was told, oh, the patient packed up during the night. Now, I didn't know what that terminology was, but it was to tell me the patient died. Why? Because our respirator failed. And the battery for the support services was not available. So they had nothing to do but to manually pump on the patient until the patient expired. In short, the condition was so bad, and many, many other similar stories. We're here to celebrate Nigeria. Nigeria, in spite of all the call for fragmentation, remains the same. Why we at DSGN come together is to make sure that Nigeria stays the same, improves, and we are going to do everything we can in order to contribute to that improvement. Now, there is a Chinese proverb that Mr. Oyeleke alluded to. It says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. I believe we have taken the first step. God has been kind to us. I believe time will prove me right or wrong in giving us Mr. Tinubu to start this government. It is a daunting task. Anyone that thinks within a year or 6 months you're going to start seeing improvements is really a fallacy. It takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes dedication. I hope we take the right step. Now, the ways that I think we can contribute from the medical standpoint, I see 3 items that I noted. First, we got to educate our people, the Nigerians, about maintenance of education, of healthcare. How do we do that? We have to get them instructed in many ways. As we have said when we had a press conference, we have to make videos, talk to the press, give us time to talk to Nigerians, and we'll talk about what are the health issues we need to pay attention to. Diabetes is very common among us, so is hypertension, so is prostate cancer, so is dementia, and so many other things. We need to let them know that most of these things don't all need medication. Lifestyle changes can make a difference. Drinking too much soda, eating late, eating not right, using sugar, which is a horrible thing for most of these diseases, can be harmful. We need to get it across our people, either through social media, through television, newsprint, or whatever it takes, so that they know that healthcare is important. The next thing we need to tackle in our country is the lack of facilities to take care of the sick. Through this group, the Diaspora Solution Group Nigeria, we hope to make inroads to the local state governments and the federal government to build health centers, primary health centers that people can go when they get sick. Right now, there are not many. And if there are, they're not equipped. There are no doctors, there are no nurses, and they are understaffed. As it is, a lot of Nigerian doctors are leaving or have left. A country of 200 million people, we have only 35,000 doctors. The need is for about 217,000 doctors. This is statistics from the Nigerian Medical Association. Now, we're going to have an understanding of the reality coming our way. With an estimated population growth of 3.2% every year, by the year 2050, Nigeria's population is estimated to be about 400 million. Now, 2050 is not so far away. See the number of doctors that we have and the number of nurses. If we don't start now to do something about keeping the doctors we have in the country and also about training more doctors and nurses, we're going to be in trouble in Nigeria. Our group is going to find ways whereby we can make recommendations to our government, federal, state, local governments, to retain doctors, to build these medical centers that our people can utilize. As it is, the very rich in Nigeria can go abroad for medical care. Outsourced medical care in Nigeria now costs about $2 billion a year. Half of it goes to India. I'm sure you know of people that have gone to get knee replacement in Calcutta or New Delhi or wherever. All that loss can be kept in Nigeria. That is part of our challenge with this group. We're going to be many. We're going to expand. We're going to form committees that are going to be charged with what to do, make research, what can we do to prevent this brain drain and also outsourcing special care. Fake medication is very common in Nigeria. You get Panadol, you get Tylenol, you're not sure whether it's authentic or not. Some people get antibiotics that do not work because some people are making profit and bringing in fake medicine. So DSGN will work with the government, will find inroads to effect change so that we can get authentic medication. Now, lastly, I want to talk about medical centers. We already talked about people outsourcing, going to India, wherever, to get medical care. As time goes on, you remember I said we're going to be 400 million? There'll be need for us to take care of the very sick people in Nigeria. Therefore, we have to find a way to create a national healthcare service. There is a rudimentary preparation, an ongoing debate going on in Nigeria right now, but it hasn't taken off. Now, the way we envision this is to have centers of excellence where we can invite the government, the private sector, the companies, and even individuals to buy into, get incentives to the companies that enroll the employees in this group so that they can get tax break. Get these centers whereby people can come, pay a very reasonable capitation fee, and they can get their orthopedic care, their cardiac care, respiratory care, diabetic care, all kinds of care. Now, this takes a lot of work. And we know, even though we talk about it, we know that it will take a lot of commitment offered by our government to listen to us, to use us as much as they can so that we can make this effective. I don't want to take too much of the time. I know there are other speakers, but I just want to give you a window into what we're about medical-wise. It's a long journey, As the Chinese said, with 1,000 miles, you take the first step. We're taking the first step, and we hope it's a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Migrants in the USA, Los Angeles, California. Please make a big welcome the next speaker for this event, Mr. Edwin Amufua. Thank you.
Thank you all, and good evening. The topic I was given to speak about today is corruption, or dare I say anti-corruption in Nigeria, which is a very, very complicated topic, but enormously important, especially when you consider the pandemic nature and the endemic nature of corruption in Nigeria and how it has completely decimated our system. Anybody here who's 40 years old, I mean, there's no gainsaying anything to them. To tell them that Nigeria 40 years ago, in terms of all our societal structures, is much, much, much better than Nigeria today. It's hard to believe that there's been retrogression and not progress. That how can it be that 40 years ago, with all the upsurge of technology and all the other things, that Nigeria was better off 40 years ago than today? But it's the truth. I was in Nigeria early this month of September, and I went into a bank just to do a name change on my account, a phone number change on my account. And a friend of mine told me, "Oh, you're too big to go to the bank, and I'll just call the manager and all that." I said, "No, I want to go myself because I like to do that. I just want to see how the average person deals with situations." So I did go into the bank, and I joined the regular line. And I was on that line for over 2 hours just to change my telephone number on my account. Because I was over here and I couldn't do any money transfers because I changed my numbers. I said, well, I'm going to go to Nigeria. I'll do it when I get there. And as I stood on that line, obviously, people around me are all grumbling. Everybody wants to see how they can cut. I watched, because my first degree was in sociology, so I watched people's movement. And, I could see that the bottleneck is actually created by the clerks, right? The bank clerks. It may come from top down, because I think for them to be able to get away with what they were doing, the bosses have to be involved as well. So in other words, the bosses allow them foster corruption because they too are corrupt. So what's happening, you're in line as you ought to do, and then people are cutting from the side and going straight to their desks, slip them a naira note or two, and they are dealt with first, and the line never moves. And you, who did the right thing to stay in line, you're watching all this, and then, people get frustrated and, they start to scream. But that's the culture of corruption in Nigeria. It's done with impunity. In other words, there is no accountability. You do it and you get away with it. In fact, the more you do, the more you get the plaudits of society. So you look at this point and you say, how do we begin to solve this problem? Now, a lot of Nigerians you talk to on this level as us, they always say it's our leaders. Oh, our leaders are bad, that's why the country is so bad. But it's not true. The reality is that those same leaders started from somewhere. The petrol station attendant today who will take 500 naira from you and pump 200 is going to be your president one day. You learn these habits wherever you are. And as long as you think it's okay to do it, you'll continue to do it. So how do you begin to correct corruption in Nigeria? It has to be a holistic approach. It's a system. You have to create a system that can push back against those things that want to tear down the barriers. For example, I think it was Dr. Fajulu who mentioned it, that there's corruption everywhere. It's just human nature. You know, if we think we can push the envelope, we'll push it as far as we can if there are no consequences. It's just a natural inclination of man to do wrong. The things that keep us in check are the consequences. So if you know you're going to end up in jail, as you would here in the West, if you break the law, it makes you think twice before you break any law. Because guess what? Even when you're speeding on the freeway, you're checking your rearview mirror because you know sooner or later you're going to be pulled over. And truly, you'll see those flashing blue lights and they'll pull you over. And then you pay the consequences, as simple as that. So people have to begin to go to jail in Nigeria. As crude as that sounds, but that is definitely a way to stop corruption. So when you know that, okay, I'm going to do this, if I'm caught, I'm going to end up in prison, it will reduce that thinking at least 25%, just starting from there. But then who puts people in prison? The legal system, the legal system in Nigeria is such whereby you start off with the police prosecuting. Really, the police prosecute. So on the magistrate level, they are the ones who do the investigation and they charge you to court. And when you get to court, obviously, in the magistrate court system where you have the petty thefts and all that, you're dealing with a lawyer on the other side. So those police people don't have any chance because they are not properly trained for that type of thing. And that's where most of the prosecution happens in Nigeria. Only the poor people are actually charged with anything. The top guys, the politicians, the governors, the ones who are in power and in authority, they never get charged with anything. So you look at the police situation and say, from there it moves into the courts, and then from the courts you get some kind of justice. But the police, first of all, are undermined. Now, I only have 20 minutes to try and cover this very, very complicated topic, so I'll try and keep some of the things I'm saying to the part where I talk about solutions. But going back to how disorderly our system is, you know, not just the banks, you go to even to the airports. Same problem. You're trying to catch a flight, you bought a ticket, you're just trying to check in, the lines are on endlessly because people are also going through the sides and they get their boarding passes first and they get to go and sit somewhere else while you wait in line. So there are simple fixes to things of that nature. The way I look at it is any regime, any government regime should have an ombudsman, as you have here, that actually pay attention to industry. So if you're talking about the banking system or the aviation system, you have an ombudsman that monitors and regulates what they do. Simple situations are in the banking hall or in the airport halls. You have your security employed by those organizations that can keep people in check. It sounds like it's impossible to do because obviously those same security agents begin to take bribe. But technology is such now in Nigeria that we can, and in the world really, that we can use technology to make things better. There are cameras everywhere. The ombudsman has to make sure that through regulation, these banking systems and these airline owners, maybe once every month, if it's too burdensome, once every 3 months, have to have a system where those cameras can be viewed and investigated to see what's going on in your banking halls or on your airport line and sanction them. Sanction works. If people are made to pay fines and penalties, that's how corporations in America stay in line as well, through sanctions. If they break the law, which they do, they get fined, big money. You know, we've heard about Microsoft got hit with 700 million. We've heard about how it's just the way it is. There has to be accountability of some sort. And if you have these bodies that regulate, and make sure they do it. Now, if the leaders or the heads of those ombudsmen don't do what they're supposed to do because they take bribe, you lock them up. They have to go to jail. There's no rocket science to this. It's just the preparedness to enforce the law that is already there. Now, Nigeria has a structure that we're blessed with. We use the federal system, which we kind of borrowed from America, which is supposed to foster democracy, as opposed to the unitary system in some other countries, totalitarian ones like China and some other ones. But you see, those countries have used that system to make sure that there is law and order in their countries. And as you all know, order brings wealth. There is no way Nigeria can get wealthy if we're as disorderly as we are. It will never happen. We are shooting ourselves in the foot by thinking we're sharp and breaking the law and cutting corners. At the end of the day, we suffer the consequences of it. And I say this because all of us here have a role to play in fighting corruption. It's not a leader thing. It starts from the bottom. Everybody, the lowly clerk, who would rather take 10,000 naira before he pushes a file, to the top senator, who would also do what he has to do to break the law. So, before I digress too much, we have what they call the whistleblower law in Nigeria, whereby if you are in an agency, if you're in an organization, and you see some kind of miscreant, you can report it and get paid money. That law is there. It's not utilized. That law was copied from the US as well, and is used here. We need to encourage and give remuneration to people who are willing to report, because not everybody wants to do the wrong thing. A lot of people, quite frankly, would rather do the right thing. And it bothers them when they start off good and then they are corrupted by their peers and who get away with it. And they start to feel, oh, maybe I should also do the same thing, because after all, that person got away with it. But when you encourage them by giving them money for speaking the truth, I think the whistleblower laws should be strengthened. Now, I was talking about the federal system and the totalitarian system. Now, the federal system gives you democracy, but it also requires that the laws are stronger. Because if the laws are not strong, then people will get away with a lot that they do. So, looking at the legal system, starting from the police to the court system, the police, for example, there are only about 400,000 policemen in Nigeria to police 200 and something million people. Now, you could make the argument that compared to the US that has 350 million people, you'll be surprised. They only have about 600 and something thousand policemen in this country. You think they have more because they're very visible and they're very active. But that's the key. They're visible. In Nigeria, you have 400,000 policemen, but you only have like 38 police commands. In this country, you have over 18,000 police precincts. I mean, you find them in every corner. So, and then you see all of the money that is put into patrol vehicles even. Because to them, it's all psychological, they hide in plain sight. You see a police car, you realize, maybe I should think twice about this, because sooner or later that same policeman might come around the corner. So we need to spend more money, even on just that, patrol vehicles. I know from where I'm from, Benin City, I can count the number of police stations in my whole city, and you hardly see a police car just patrolling. They don't patrol. So we need to put money into our police force, for one, and use technology. Technology can help corruption a lot. So when I talk about technology, like what? Walkie-talkies, simple things like that, The policeman you see here, if you avoid him at this block, by the time you get to the third block, the other ones have jammed you up, because it's all about radio, right? He can't do everything himself and chase you around. That's why they can manage with 600,000 and do very, very well with it. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. All of these solutions are there already. Now, law and order and the essential component of it, I'll use China as another example. We talked about their unitary system, where they're able to police their people effectively. In 1979, China was a third world country like Nigeria. Go figure that out. Our lifetime, they were third world. Today, they challenge America for the number one spot. It's either America is number one or China is number one. Today, like 40-something years later. And all of that wealth emanated from America deciding to invest their blueprints, their technology, by building their factories in China, where they now copied and got better. Those days, we used to throw China products away. I timed myself not to talk too long, but I'll go a little bit more. You know, we used to throw Chinese things away that weren't made properly. And then in the 70s, early 80s, America and some other Western countries actually wanted to go to Africa to do the same thing because cost of labor was very cheap. So to them, they were looking for a place where they could manufacture cheaply and sell over here because cost of labor here had gone astronomically higher. But we in the third world, Africa, couldn't guarantee rule of law. Too much corruption. They knew that to produce one item rather than it costing $1, by the time they do with all the bribing and everything, it will be like $3. It cuts into their profit margins. Additionally, we couldn't even guarantee a simple thing like electricity, power. Like Dr. Fajuli stated, in the middle of an operation, the lights go out. We couldn't even give them that. China could offer all of these things. China had electricity 24/7, and they had rule of law. And so all these factories went there and set up. And 40 years later, China is number one. And they were able to lift out of poverty over 200 million people. Now that's the whole country of Nigeria. If China was able to do that in less than 40 years, the blueprint is there for us to copy. We don't have to reinvent the wheel because God has given us examples. And on top of that, God gave us more resources than any of these other countries. There's rarely a country in the world, and I'm going to say Africa because I'm going to just treat Africa as one country. There's hardly a country in the world that is as blessed as Africa with natural resources. None. I'll make the argument that the closest to Africa might just be the US. And that's because they have, like in California, you have 24/7 sunlight, so you can grow food endlessly. Agriculture is strong. They have gold. That's where it ends. Okay? Now, human resources, 350 million people, and then gold, and some oil. Yes, there's oil in America too, just like Africa. And what else? Agriculture. But in Africa, you have 24/7 sunlight of agriculture. You have the human resources in the sense that in the whole continent, you have 1.2 billion people in the entire continent. That continent of Africa is smaller than the country of China, or even the country of India. That's 1.3 and 1.4. So you have a whole continent that is easily navigable. You can traverse the entire continent easily, like one country. And on top of that, you have all of these minerals, plus diamonds, plus uranium, plus copper, plus tin, endless minerals. Why then are we so poor? It comes all the way down to administration of that wealth and power. So having law and order is our lifeblood. We all have to invest heavily in that. If we don't get our administration right, we'll never be able to count our money because it's just going to be spirited away in all kinds of directions. Either you bribe the leaders or you get the lowly clerk to do the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, if we don't have a system that pushes back against all of these negative things, we will never function as a people. I know somebody made an allusion to what Nelson Mandela had said, and he was actually talking more especially about Nigeria, because Nigeria, as we all know, is the most populous black country in the world. In Africa alone, every 1 in 4 black person you see in the entire world is from Nigeria. It's 25%. So if Nigeria does not do well, the black race will never do well, quite frankly. You would look at a black person and you will always think they are inferior. Because when you look beyond them, you don't see anything good. All you see is chaos, disorderliness, and all of the other negative things. So we have a job to do, every single one of us. We're here today in the African American Museum where the walls are covered with pioneers. The more you read about these pioneers, the more you see how they came from nothing into a lot. Let's all here be pioneers. Let it begin with us. Let it begin with you. Learn to say no to corruption. Just have to do it. Because at the end of the day, you hurt yourself to be corrupt. And that short-term gain you think you're getting in the long run means nothing when you cannot spend it. You end up running away, trying to find a better country where people took the pains to make it functional. We can't keep doing that. We are blessed with all of these good things in our continent. It's time for us to tap into it. I guarantee you, the West knows how providential your continent is and your country. They know. They know. And we need to wisen up to that ourselves. Now, having said all of that, I'll also touch on a few other things just so you keep it in mind. Politics in Nigeria has been overrun by corruption, as you all know. There's no politician or even if there is any, we don't hear them. We only see the ones who are all about, just keeping all of the wealth for themselves. Now, that comes from the situation where they have to pay for their own political campaigns out of their own savings. Okay, that's the system we've created. In Nigeria, the man has to spend over $150 million or whatever to win an election. And then tomorrow you expect him not to steal all that money back and put it in his account and build back all he has spent. So we need to start building a system like here where people don't use their own money. Nobody's richer than Trump. Nobody's richer than a bunch of the politicians here are very rich as well, but they made their money from other places. They come into politics without spending that money. Rarely before they spend their money to win a political office. It's donations. People have to donate. We need to create that system as well in Nigeria where we don't make our politicians spend their savings and then we expect them to get into office and pass laws to curb corruption. It will never happen. They also have to steal that money back. So you see, our problems are multitude. But it starts from somewhere. It starts from an understanding. So, the SGN and some of our goals is to try and educate as best as we can, to try and share knowledge to improve and bring to bear all the best practices in the world that we have seen. So with regards to, for example, the legal system, the court system, that's another story by itself. I remember when I was in high school, which is over 40 years ago, a friend of mine who had a grandfather that was very wealthy, left properties, but he, was a polygamous home, so different moms and all that stuff. So anyway, they started a lawsuit over the inheritance. This is in the 70s, over 40 years ago. Guess what? That same case is still on. Now, I'm a lawyer and I put it to you, there's no case that is that complicated. None that yes and is not resolved. My friend's father died in his 80s. All of his uncles that were in this lawsuit, most of them have I think all of them, if I'm not mistaken, have passed away. Some in their 70s, but most of them in their 80s. And the case is still on. It's ridiculous. And that's exactly how the legal system is. It doesn't move. So people don't take cases to court. People, it's just like jungle justice. Like, what's the point? Or the judges are compromised, and we have a system where you have just one agency, the National Judicial Council that nominates judges, one agency. How can you not compromise that one agency? It cannot be that way. It has to be spread out. They have to have more than that anyway, than one agency of a few people picking who your judges would be across all the states and all the federal courts. That needs to be corrected. Nowadays, even politicians don't rely on votes. They don't. They don't rely on the people who vote for them. They just say go to court because they know they can easily buy the judges, right? There's who has more money, buy the judges, so you don't get justice even in the court system. So we're going to create a master class where we can have some judges from here speak about these types of issues. In California, I know cases used to take 5 years and people were screaming, and they created all these changes whereby, if a judge, or more so the lawyers, it's the lawyers who grind these things to a halt because they take all these continuances, which they do in Nigeria. They just don't show up. Meanwhile, they keep billing their clients, quite frankly. But they sanction them. Sanctions work. If you're not ready for your case, you get sanctioned. By the time you write 2 checks, you're ready to make sure that your case moves forward. Those types of practices, we're going to try to educate our legal system in Nigeria. Additionally, looking at the younger ones, because like I said before, it all starts from every single one, beginning to understand the importance of integrity and doing things the right way. So we're going to set up leadership schools. We're going to team up with professionals to set up leadership classes where we teach people about the importance of anti-corruption and the rule of law and integrity and that type of thing. We're also going to team up with churches and mosques because people take religion for granted these days, but when you really look at it historically, religion and quite frankly, the 10 Commandments, the simple 10 Commandments, the laws weren't complicated then. It was just 10 rules, is what built the capital of the Western world. That simple, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, all of that, just simple 10 Commandments is how the West was built. It's not complicated. Love your neighbor as yourself, because clearly if you do that, you're not going to steal from your neighbor and things of that nature. So churches have a very pivotal role to play in helping us fight corruption in Nigeria. So the master class, the leadership class, engage the churches, but above everything else, let it begin with you. Let each and every one of us just copy from our pioneers in this building and try to be the same in our own little small world. Because guess what? You're not as unimportant as you think you are. You make up the larger whole. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We want to use this opportunity to say thank you to all our television houses in Nigeria currently streaming this event. We appreciate you. We celebrate you. We are honored that you're part of this. Thank you for putting in resources to make this a success. The next speaker for this event is the exquisite, fabulous, beautiful, I'm sure when she comes on stage you can attest to that, Dr. Capris Hollins. She's the co-founder of Cultures Connecting. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to begin by acknowledging the land we gather on and recognize those who gather before us and who share this land with us today. We recognize the ancestors and current members of the Coast Salish tribes that claim traditional lands around the Puget Sound, including the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, the Puyallup and Stillaguamish tribe of Indians, the Snoqualmie, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Duwamish tribes, among other indigenous peoples. Not only do we recognize their ongoing cultural and geographical legacy, but their history and present here in this region today. I also want to recognize my ancestors, for I stand on their shoulders today. To them I say, Ashe. Thank you, Mr. Gideon, for entrusting me to speak at such a significant gathering and at such an important time, the celebration of Nigeria's independence and the inaugural launching of the Northwest Diaspora Solution Group of Nigeria. I am blessed and humbled to be here standing before you. Organizations often look to me as though I am an expert of race relations in this country. No, your time is up, not mine. My husband is going to be my timekeeper, and he's going to give me the signal. And if that doesn't work, my feet will be my other timekeeper. It's important for all of you to know that while I have a great degree of experience and expertise, the issues of racism have existed far too long and run much too deep in the soils of this nation's land for me to claim title of expert. I want to recognize that there are people in this room who are far more capable of speaking about Nigeria and her people, culture, history, and tribal dynamics. I have spent over 25 years studying race relations in this country, so what I can offer you is a window into the devastating impact racism has had on people of color, and more specifically, Black Americans. I can offer to you an understanding of how a deep-seated belief in white supremacy that began in this country with the colonization of my indigenous brothers, sisters, and two-spirited peoples, and the enslavement of our ancestors is still able to thrive today. What I've come to learn about our history of racism and what little I understand about some of the challenges Nigeria faces amongst her varying tribes leads me to believe that you will find some of the parallels between this country and your nation. And as a side note, I will refer to Black Americans as those descendants of the
Okay, I'm Gideon Soba Oyeliki, and I'm the president of Diaspora Solution Group of Nigeria.
Who are Diaspora Solution Group media?
Okay, we are a group which is nationwide in America. Our vision is to ensure patriotism, nationalism, networking among the Nigerians that are here in America and back over there in Nigeria. We are here to ensure that the success in between Nigeria privately and collectively.
When did this organization start?
We started this year.
Okay.
Actually, we've been brainstorming since 2022.
Okay.
But we started this year.
Okay. What made you to start this?
We're looking at a whole lot of issues in Nigeria, which is my country, and looking at the resources that they have. Now we are here. We normally will have a party. We'll eat and drink, and we'll go out there and complain.
Okay.
So we are exposed more, and then in the world, there is no country that developed without the effort of the diaspora. Even in America here, you have Microsoft, a lot of diaspora there. Boeing, we have a lot of them in there. Go to Israel. Diaspora developed that country. In China, diaspora developed that country. And here in America, Nigeria have the highest number of the PhDs and college graduates. We are all what I would call like a brain drain, but we want to turn that brain drain into brain gain.
Okay. Do you specifically deal with immigrants from Nigeria or immigrants from all over the world, or only Nigerians?
So we deal with particularly Nigeria, but generally all over the world.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have like membership or?
We have membership all over the country. We have California,
Yeah.
we have Texas,
Yeah.
we have New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, and so on, and we are looking for more.
Are you the overall coordinator and the leader?
I am the president.
Okay.
We have a whole lot of expertise among us. We have the vice president, who is Dr. Fajolu.
Okay.
He's a surgeon.
Okay.
Then we have Dr. Mani Emenike,
Yeah.
who is one of the top neurosurgeons in America.
Okay.
We have Dr. Dada,
Okay.
who is one of the award-winning scientists,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Do you have an idea how many members do you have from Nigeria?
Right now, I will say probably, I don't know, maybe about 50
Okay.
here in
Yeah.
America.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but we're new.
Okay. Which are problems that provoked you to start this organization, and how do you solve them?
Okay, Nigeria have a whole lot of issues.
Okay.
I'll start with education.
Okay.
Over there, it take about, normally to get a college degree should take about 3 years.
Okay.
But in Nigeria, it take about 7 years.
Yeah.
Because of all this strike going on,
Yeah.
you don't even know when the students time
Okay.
in school.
Yeah.
We have a problem with
Yeah.
the agriculture.
Yeah.
People are going hungry, but
Yeah.
the fact is we produce a whole lot of food.
Oh.
We have the Nigerian produce the largest yams
Okay.
in the world. Despite that fact, our fufu is made in Ghana. So the problem in Nigeria is not food production, but
Okay.
processing.
Have you seen results out of this? Has this organization yielded some results?
Well, organization we are members.
Okay.
There are done things in the past, and you'll see the posters over there.
Yeah.
We've been involved with palliative, where people are going hungry over
Yeah.
there. We've been involved with medical
Yeah.
missions,
Yeah.
whereby we do all kind of education about medical issues
Yeah.
like diabetes,
Yeah.
and we have a social media TV, and we have some of our doctors. They make some presentations, and we posted it in there so that the community can use it.
Now, today we have an event. What is happening today? We have a lot of the Nigerians today.
Okay.
We can see them all over. And you are neatly, you are smart, you are neatly dressed. What is happening today?
Today we are having the inaugural meeting
Inaugural
for
meeting?
the inaugural celebration
Yeah.
of the organization,
Yeah.
and we're also having the independence celebration
Okay.
for Nigerian.
Independence.
And independent, belated independent, because next week will be Nigeria independence, 63rd
Okay.
independent.
Okay.
And now we having the inaugural, and we're bringing together all these technocrats
Yeah.
and the experts from all over America.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Mani Emenike, he's one of the top
Yeah.
neurosurgeons in the U.S.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Dada,
Yeah.
who is one of the award-winning scientists.
Yeah.
He's here.
Yeah.
We have some of the judges,
Yeah.
Judge Makala, then we have Judge Okoloko.
Okay.
Then the issue that we have are mostly the race relations.
Okay.
We have Dr. Collins,
Yeah.
who's a psychologist.
Yeah.
She's going to make her own presentation. Then we
Yeah.
have an attorney who's going to do, Edwin,
Yeah.
who's going to do something on corruption.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of presentation that we're going to tape,
Yeah.
and it's going to hear on the media.
Now I want you to look at that camera and talk to Nigerians who are in America. They don't know there is an organization like this. And maybe in few words, tell them what you do.
Okay. We are, like I said earlier, Diaspora Solution Group is an organization that ensures nationalism, networking, and cooperation between Nigerians in abroad and the one over there in Nigeria. For us to ensure there is a success privately and individually among them. And lastly, Nigeria have enormous natural and human resources. We want Nigerians to be able to use our organization basically to mobilize all this information to build a better Nigeria, a beautiful and better Nigeria.
Do you have like contacts or some platforms like Facebook, Twitter? Do you have, how can other Nigerians reach you or your office?
Okay, you can go on Google and Google our Diaspora Solution Group.
Yeah.
And you'll find us over there.
Yeah.
And you find us Diaspora Solution Group on Google, and we'll be there. Now we have a phone, we have a social media TV, so all those you can find us over there.
Do you have a website?
We have a website that's dsgn.usa.com.
Do you have, what's the phone number? You mentioned phone number.
Oh, we have a Seattle phone number, which is 206-446-1741.
Do you have other officials or you work alone?
No, I have so many officials, and they're all experts.
Okay.
I have my vice president is a surgeon,
Okay.
and he's one of the directors of Kaiser Permanente in California.
Okay.
That's Dr. Fajulu, the vice president. We have the one that is in healthcare. We have Dr. Mani Ebenike, and he's one of the top neurosurgeons in the U.S.
Okay.
We have Dr. Dada, who is a researcher.
Okay.
And there's one award-winning, he work also on COVID. We have Honorable Edwin Ebenike.
Okay.
Edwin, who's gonna be talking both on economy and so on. We have other people. Yes.
One last question. Where do you see Diaspora Solution Group Nigeria in 10 years or 5 years down the line?
Well, right now we have a new president, we have a new regime.
Okay.
And like the president said that he's going to when he touch on the ground, he's going to start running.
Okay.
We are seeing some proof that he's going to do something for Nigeria.
Okay.
We have a $10 billion contract that he won from India, lifting the suspended visa ban on Nigeria and Dubai, and the crime. He has some initiative to work with the West African, and I think, and he's well educated. He's educated here, and he promised that he's going to do something better. So we are hopeful.
Thank you for speaking with Pacific Coast TV.
Yeah,
We will hang around and see what's happening. Yeah.
Pacific Wave TV. Nenyuge na neta.